Tuesday, 9/8 Central. Don't miss FBI. Only CBS.
In the sport of obstacle course racing, endurance is essential. Equally as important is an athlete's ability to overcome fear. Fear of unseen challenges that lie over hills, underwater, even on the very ground they run. Today, World's Toughest Mudder brings together over 1,300 racers from all walks of life. For 24 hours, they must battle obstacles and the elements, finding the courage within to override the body's pleas to surrender. For these athletes, hardship is an opportunity to learn how far the human spirit can push when fueled by grit and the support of Mother Nation. They venture into the unknown with new challenges to overcome, new milestones to reach, as a community and as individuals. This is World's Toughest Mudder. After 3 years in the desert outside Las Vegas, Boot Cart Farms is the new home for World's Toughest Mudder, the most challenging 24-hour obstacle course race in the world.
Coming here for the first time, it's like your first day at high school, I guess. You walk in and you don't really know what to expect.
This year I'm feeling like super excited. It's a new venue, which I'm like loving. It's super cool because there's going to be a whole bunch of new obstacles.
Just like the new venue, and the buzz is just lifted, and energy is just 150% here.
Tough Mudder events are the ultimate test of physical and mental endurance. In addition to Toughest and World's Toughest Mudder, entry-level 5K fun runs and 10-mile challenges take place almost every weekend around the world. It's here at World's Toughest that the legendary Mudder community comes together to support all participants, where winning is defined as doing your personal best, whether as a first-time competitor or an elite racing for the podium. This year's event takes place less than a half an hour outside Atlanta. Situated on 8,000 acres of hiking paths and horse trails, this year's course features similar elevation gain to Lake Las Vegas, but more varied and unpredictable terrain that will challenge elites like Ryan Atkins, who set a course record last year with 110 miles. This year, however, Atkins will be running as part of a 4-person relay team.
Won the individual title several times and thought it'd be kind of cool to have won every category. There's also a cool opportunity to get to run with my wife and a few friends.
So we put Team Lindsay's Angels together. We recruited Ryan and Brian, who are both really fun people, and we just thought it would make a really good team atmosphere.
With Atkins on the team, it kind of leaves everybody open for a spot. It's going to be a dogfight again.
Among those vying for the top of the podium is 2016 World's Toughest Men's Champion Trevor Sykos, who ran this course in last year's America's Toughest Mudder South.
So this is my second time at this venue, so I kind of know what the terrain's like. It's wet, it's muddy, it's damp, sticky, and it could be colder than any time in Vegas.
Also in contention is Mudder veteran Christopher Mendoza, who recently edged Sykos for first place at the Toughest Mudder West.
I'm super excited to get out with him for 24 hours. It's just like a friendly rivalry. Like, we're ready to go at it with each other and hopefully push each other. If we can go 1-2, that'd be awesome. Obviously, I want to win, but, you know.
That was a wild race. Chris Mendoza came out there and laid it down and won, and gave me a run for my money, so I'm excited to see how me and him go head-to-head in this 24-hour event.
In the women's race, returning champion Rhea Coble hopes her hard work and obstacle proficiency will return her to the podium and the possibility of a 100-mile finish.
This is a new venue. You don't know if the winner's going to go 60 miles or if the winner's going to go 120. So I feel like having a goal that more has to do with your effort for the event rather than the outcome is probably healthier for that kind of race.
Last year's second-place finisher Allison Ty has every reason to believe she can take the top spot.
I'm feeling really fit, and I'm also feeling really rested. I haven't raced as much as I typically would, so I'm just coming into this just feeling really ready this year and really excited to see how that translates on course.
The pit is a refuge for all Tough Mudder competitors, a place where they can rest, refuel, and get updates from their crew regarding race times and position. Already significant differences in course conditions between Atlanta and Las Vegas are becoming apparent, and this picturesque setting hides a formidable menace.
I think the really big obstacle of this race is going to be the cold and it's going to be the mud.
Mud will be a big factor because it's going to make it more technical, and then also you have to lift your feet higher with every step, so it's going to wear out your hip flexors and wear you down faster.
Another factor that could impact the race is the overnight temperature, which is forecast to drop from 50 degrees when the race starts at noon to near freezing.
I just noticed that there's a freeze watch in effect, but I did bring quite a few wetsuits, and I think I'm going to need them all.
I don't know if it's perfect conditions for a 24-hour race, but it's definitely perfect conditions for an epic adventure.
As over 1,300 athletes ready for the start, the new course, unpredictable forecast, and wide open field of competition ensure that World's Toughest Mudder 2018 will be a dramatic battle where anyone could emerge a winner.
It's kind of reminding me of my first World's Toughest Mudder, just because there's so much unknown with the course, the terrain, the new obstacles. You know, it's going to be muddy, it's going to be sloppy, it's just going to be wild out there.
This is the biggest gathering of Mudder Nation that there is. Looking at the ladies, you've got Rhea, you've got Allison. Can Rhea go bell to bell again?
We got Trevor coming off a big year. We got Chris Mendoza. We got all these guys that are starting to really shine, and more talents coming in that are unknowns, and they're all going to try to get that top spot. And there's only going to be one.
It's about to happen right now.
3, 2,
This is no ordinary fun run. It's a Tough Mudder 5K. 3 miles, 13 obstacles, live entertainment and games with zero judgment and zero training required. Do something different with your weekend. Sign up for a Tough Mudder 5K.
This isn't a liner. Well, to be clear, it's an invisible liner from Smile Direct Club. Our liners take teeth like these and transform them into those. They discreetly take this and turn it into that. We send your aligners directly to you, and in an average of 6 months, you could have a lifetime supply of confidence. Join more than 250,000 satisfied runners who got a smile they love for only $80 a month at SmileDirectClub.com.
Christmas trees try so hard. Lights, ornaments, and little choo-choo trains, come on. The best trees, they kind of only need 2 things. Peanut butter and chocolate. Not sorry, Reese's.
During the Ram Big Finish event, there's no better time to get a great deal on the trucks with best-in-class towing.
You make it feel like Christmas.
And the all-new Ram 1500, 2019 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. Hurry in before the Ram Big Finish event is finished.
Get an average $10,767 in total values on select 2019 Ram 1500 models in dealer stock plus $500 bonus cash.
The 2018 World's Toughest Mudder on CBS Sports is sponsored by Charge 3. Know yourself to improve yourself. Ace, the helpful place. And by Ice Cold Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
3, 2, 1. So begin World's Toughest Mudder 2018.
World's Toughest Mudder 2018 is underway at its new home just outside Atlanta. With no obstacles open during the initial sprint lap, Mudder athletes get a good look at the terrain and the obstacles that lie ahead.
Well, I have to say, in conditions like this, you don't even go into it thinking win, you think survive.
It's probably going to be really cold, especially at night, and they're going to have us in and out of the water. I think that's going to, cause a lot of people to really, really struggle with the conditions.
Right out of the gate, athletes have to contend with the area's infamous red clay.
This course is going to be very muddy, so all I can picture myself is running through like a foot of mud and just kind of getting through it.
For contenders Christopher Mendoza and Trevor Psychos, it's business as usual as they settle into their respective paces.
It started out interesting enough that Trevor and Chris weren't more than 100 yards apart, and then Trevor began to get a lead on him.
Taking it like a nice chill pace right now, not trying to push anything. Looking forward to some obstacles.
With the sprint lap over, obstacles open up and the real competition begins. This year, the new course features a total of 26 obstacles spread over the 5-mile loop.
With the new obstacles and the new course format, everybody is just so excited to get out there and play this chess match that Tough Mudder has set up for us. Every lap is going to be just a little bit new, and there's just going to be that game element that's just going to make it really fun.
Tough Mudder has 10 new and updated obstacles in store for the 2019 season, with several making their debut at this year's World's Toughest. Just over a mile and a half from the starting line is Black Widow.
Black Widow is a fun new obstacle. So it's slack lines over water. And then there's sort of slack lines over top that you can hold on to help you not fall off the bottom slack line, but they're going every which direction.
It's fun because you'll have someone over here holding onto a line and you want to go grab onto it also. And then you're shaking each other around the place. You shake them off, they're going to shake you off.
If the muddy conditions are difficult for most runners, they pose a profound challenge to adaptive athletes like David Tyson Perry and Jesse Stracom, who are both competing in their second consecutive World's Toughest Mudder.
I'm really excited to go back out with Tyson. We support each other, and it's just so cool to see the community come together like that. We share that goal of getting more people to get out of their comfort zone. We want to show them that anything that they set their mind to is possible.
Another adaptive athlete competing in his first World's Toughest is 101st Airborne veteran Noah Galloway.
Most of the race is extremely physical, but there's that mental aspect of overcoming Tough Mudder and the race, the obstacles. It's so much like life. You come across things that can hold you back, that could stop you. And people would question you for letting it stop you. But it's overcoming that obstacle and going through it in your own pace and moving on to the next one.
Of all the obstacles Galloway and fellow mudders must face, the most imposing one sits at the very end of the course. Mudderhorn.
Mudderhorn essentially is the world's most massive A-frame obstacle. You really need help just to get to the net.
What makes this one really unique is the fact that we have a second layer resting on your back. So the entire time you're climbing, which normally is pretty easy, you're going to have a ton of weight kind of pressing you back into it. And you're going to be getting pretty high up in the air. So for people who have a small fear of heights, we'll probably grow to having a pretty big fear of heights by the end of it. It's one of the tallest features that we've done on the course so far.
As she navigates the course, veteran Allison Ty knows the importance of keeping a steady pace, as well as monitoring heart rate.
Monitoring your heart rate for a race like this is so important. Paying attention to staying in that aerobic zone. So having a tool like a Fitbit, I think, is really important. I'm using the Fitbit Charge 3. It's just so concise and so small, and yet it can track your heart rate for 24 hours, which is pretty amazing.
Just 2 hours into the race, the men's field is tightly packed, with first-time competitor Mark Cadet leading by 3 minutes ahead of favorites Christopher Mendoza and Trevor Psychos.
To win these races, you just got to put your head down and grind. And never stop moving. It's most important.
In the women's field, Allison Ty takes a narrow lead over 2017 champion Rhea Coble, with Anne Champagne trailing by a little over a mile. Morgan Mackay's approach this year will be cautious, in light of her early exit from last year's Worlds due to injury.
Last year at World's Toughest Mudder, I was doing really, really well during the race. And unfortunately, I got to Funky Monkey. Just as I was swinging to the platform, my grip failed and I ended up hitting my head on the landing. It was just really heartbreaking because, you know, they told me I was medically disqualified, that I had a concussion. I pride myself on my strength being obstacle completion, and to go out having failed my favorite obstacle was kind of like, no.
Injuries aside, athletes sometimes find even getting the right equipment can be a challenge.
My shorty wetsuit had actually gotten stolen. We shipped it to the house we were staying at here. I had to scramble, buy a wetsuit, found one that I'd never worn before, but looked like it'd do the job and hope for the best.
Probably put on the wetsuit a little early, but I've been warm the last 2 hours. I feel great, so staying steady. Race doesn't start till midnight.
As more obstacles open, athletes work to get their momentum going.
Crushing it, you're crushing it.
While they still have daylight on their side.
Meet the next generation of studio fitness. Introducing Tough Mudder Boot Camp. Train together. See results faster than ever. Check one out or own one yourself.
So you're trying to make the walk?
Yeah, I'll do it in a sec.
What? How is that delay of game? Wait. I'm gonna make that walk now.
No walk, no game.
Avocados from Mexico.
Brand new day is in my feet.
This is a beer inspired by nature, made with organic grains and sourced from the finest farms. Michelob Ultra Pure Gold. A beer like no other, with a pure, refreshing taste.
There's a couple things I'd like to say to you. I needed you in the dead of night, the wake of the day, first broken light. I'd follow you. Never realized how much I needed you.
Comfort. What we deliver by delivering.
The race for the FedEx Cup is on. The stories bigger. The comebacks bolder. The connection stronger. More than ever, what you feel is one thing. Everything. PGA Tour. Live under par. Wednesday, only 6 remain in the epic battle, David versus Goliath.
Let's finish this up.
The Survivor season finale and live reunion show, CBS Wednesday.
It's 4 hours into the 2018 World's Toughest Mudder, and the infamous Georgia red clay and falling temperatures are already taking their toll.
24 hours, every bit of energy is valuable. We're going to be caked the whole time, and there's not going to be any sort of relief from the thick mud.
Mud is frustrating. It's not like Vegas where you can just take off after an obstacle. You know, you might have a few feet of mud. When you're trying to take off after an obstacle, and it's just slipping and sliding, and it really zaps some energy out of you.
Currently, the men's field is led by Trevor Sykos, who holds a 7-minute advantage over Christopher Mendoza, and third place Jesse Bruce.
I'm not the best runner, I'm not the strongest, I'm definitely not the best at the technical obstacles, like the grip strength stuff, but I would say I'm just very well-rounded.
Rhea Coble still leads the women's race by just over a mile, while Allison Ty is less than 2 minutes ahead of third place Anne Champagne. Course conditions have clearly affected the pace, as Coble has run nearly 5 miles less than at the same point at last year's World's Toughest.
You want 20? Got it.
However, Trevor Sykos has managed 0.3 of a mile more than at this point in last year's race.
In a race like this, pace is very important because as it goes on and on, you have to figure everybody's getting colder and colder and colder. It's about the survivor in a world's toughest mudder. The survivor soon becomes the winner.
While the endless mud can wreak havoc on leg muscles, the effect of water exposure on grip strength makes obstacles more difficult.
Really tough to grab onto something when your hands are frozen. I don't know if you've ever had that where you're trying to open the door with a key. When your hand's frozen, you can't quite close your hand around the key. And then you imagine you have to traverse something using only your arms. And you need that dexterity and you need that grip strength. And if your forearms or your hands freeze, you're toast. You're not going to make it across.
Losing one's grip on Funky Monkey, for example, forces a 100-yard sandbag penalty. Grip strength is continually tested on the course at World's Toughest Mudder. 3.5 miles in, athletes must contend with the gauntlet.
The gauntlet is a balance beam that leads up to some monkey rings to a rope with a little cylinder on the bottom.
You start with a series of just rings that you swing across like Donkey Kong.
There's some hitches on the side. When it's dry, it's very doable. But once it got wet, you then hit that wet hitch and boom, you're in the water.
And then you go to a plank position with your hands over your head and then work your way across it laterally.
Take a phenomenal amount of shoulder and core strength and shim across this thing, not fall into the goop, that's what we call the water, to get to the end.
You have to be on your toes to get through it.
As daylight begins to fade, competitors look for every advantage before temperatures plummet.
All right, I need to go to Carolina.
There you go.
Thank you.
After completing her 5th lap for 25 miles, Allison Ty earns a golden carabiner, which allows athletes to take either of 2 gold routes, bypassing multiple obstacles and cutting significant time off a grueling late-night lap.
Golden carabiner allowed me to bypass about 5 of the more difficult obstacles, which will be pretty key coming here in the next couple hours. You know, people aren't used to running at night. They're not used to running in the woods at night. And that messes with your mind.
With the sun officially set, headlamps are now required gear, and night ops begins.
The sun goes down and there's something that happens, like you start to see the blinking lights go out on course, and there's another sense of, oh gosh, this is real.
The night ops are tough. You gotta hold on. There's no easy way to get through it, and you can't ignore it.
You can't see as well, obstacles are harder, it's getting colder. Like, I find that's what is like the true beast of the race, is racing at night.
7.5 hours in, Rhea Coble has a 14-minute lead over Allison Ty and Morgan Mackay. However, less than 3 minutes still separates men's leader Christopher Mendoza from Trevor Psychos.
It used to be a really big weakness of mine, but now I'm ready to take night offs and just go for it, because that's when everyone else is quitting. You really gotta be focused and you gotta be out there pushing.
This is not a bet. It's proven quality sleep. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed from $9.99 intelligently senses your movement and automatically adjusts on each side to keep you both effortlessly comfortable. And the best gift of all, a silent night. How smart is that? Smarter sleep to help you shed those sugar cookies, get a running start on the holidays, and take it all in with the patience of a saint. And now, 48-month financing on all smart beds, plus free premium delivery and setup. Ends Monday.
Got rhythm all in my shoe. Song from a chapter blue. Well, come on, baby, come along with me. Get this little taste of soul. I say, get this little taste of soul. Well, before you go too long, we all can have it. It's a thing and grow. You can come and dance and go to show it. I got feeling where it's supposed to be. If you want to come in, it's just all right.
On a tense Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
What is it?
It's the new neighbor sheriff. The referees.
Only dozens.
We don't need their whistles keeping us up at night.
Look, they're putting up replay cameras. I can't do it.
What's making the calls here, Sheriff? I'm out. Maybe we should give him a chance. Hey, neighbor, welcome to Brownsville.
Offsides!
That wasn't very neighborly.
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
Did they say what time they get here?
Around 5. Oh, they're early.
Who's early?
Somebody get the door.
What? A grill?
This holiday, take everything you love about Christmas and wrap it in red. Right now at Ace, get free assembly and delivery on any grill, $3.99 and up, from brands like Weber, Traeger, and more.
Merry Christmas, Daddy.
Ace is the place for the helpful hardware folks. The neighborhood's throwing a fundraiser.
No thanks.
There's a prime rib dinner and an open bar.
Limit is for the kids.
But if you're not rich, just fake it. New episode CBS Monday.
Want your sports news and highlights straight without the noise? Stream CBS Sports HQ, the all-new 24/7 sports news network available on your phone, computer, and connected TV devices. CBS Sports HQ, sports for true fans. It's 8 hours into world's toughest mudder, and the temperature has fallen almost 10 degrees from the start of the race.
Getting cold out there. Tell you what. The temperature has dropped. A lot of questions going through my head. Did I, shove enough stuff in my bag? Am I going to be warm enough? It definitely just feels real now.
I'm struggling here.
As the temperatures dropped, my hands were so cold that a Funky Monkey was about a 50% success rate. I started just to make the calculated decision to just jump right into the water, take the penalty lap.
The cold forces a slower pace and causes some runners to drop out.
Yeah, where's the emergency blanket? Emergency blanket and dry road.
When I came in to the pit, there wasn't as many people in the night. They're telling me, a lot of people are dropping out. So I could tell, the conditions were getting to some people.
Christopher Mendoza maintains a small lead over Trevor Psychos after 8 laps, while Jesse Bruce trails just over 15 minutes behind in third. Rhea Coble maintains her first-place lead over Allison Ty, with Morgan Mackay just a couple of minutes behind in third.
How's it feel, man? It feels great, man. He's out there freezing, why not me?
In the cold, the pit area becomes even more critical to the runners as a place to recharge and rehydrate.
It's dangerous. It can be the cemetery. You could sit down and you might not get back up.
Gotta get out of here fast, dude. Sucks. It's great, but it sucks, because it sucks right now. And the only way to fix it is get out there, so.
And your pit crew, unfortunately, has to deal with you.
I'm back. The pit crew also makes sure the athletes are dressed for the weather and have the right gear.
There's a ton of equipment that we bring with us, whether it's wetsuits, gloves. But another huge component of that is which watch you're going to bring. This race, I'm just going to be using the Fitbit Charge 3. It helps monitor my heart rate. You want to make sure that your heart rate stays in a certain zone so that you can maintain that effort throughout the whole race. So I think that having a heart rate monitor on you is super helpful to look down and just know, like, hey, I'm in the proper zone, or hey, I can push a little harder, or I need to back off.
Starting from 8 p.m. onward, competitors can bypass 5 physically demanding obstacles by taking the high voltage route, which has 3 shock-based obstacles north of the main course. Breezing through Operation, Entrapment, and electroshock therapy is a tempting shortcut for those who can tolerate up to 10,000 volts.
A lot of times we're all trying to avoid an electrical shock. Well, this time you can get out there, you can skip a bunch of wet, sloppy obstacles and just take a couple of shocks.
I chose the high voltage route. If anything, I felt like getting shocked was almost rejuvenating. It was funny because if there was one area on course that I looked forward to every time, it was the electric route. It's more of a mental challenge really than a physical one. So I really enjoyed the change and I just stayed on the electric route all night. Whew.
However, many athletes prefer more traditional obstacles that require both strength and teamwork, like the iconic Everest 2.0. And Tough Mudder provides Celsius energy drinks to help all competitors live fit as they work to get to the top.
The thing I like about Everest is that you get to it, you're like, I've been running slow for 12 hours. Now I got to sprint. Here we go. Everest, It's a full bore sprint. And if you don't give it everything, you're going to slip down there. You need to have energy. There's no slacking when it comes to that. You need to sprint as hard as you can. Fueling yourself constantly is huge. You're like a locomotive, and you just got to keep shoveling in coal.
It's just past the 10-hour mark. Christopher Mendoza has built an 8-minute lead over Trevor Psychos as they log their 10th lap for 50 miles, with third place Jesse Bruce trailing another 13 minutes behind.
My goal was actually, I didn't even want to be in the top 10. I found out I was in third way earlier, and it kind of made me nervous, but what's going on in my head is relax, keep breathing, don't worry about what anybody else is doing, just run smooth, stay calm, and enjoy it.
How old are you? Oh, 91, 91, 7.
With midnight about an hour away, Rhea Coble has a modest 24-minute lead over Allison Ty. And Morgan Mackay holds her pace to remain in third at 44 minutes behind. But midnight is fast approaching, and with it, the biggest challenge of the race.
Old Trapper Beefs. Cheesy fingers. Old Trapper, what's your beef?
I'm watching that.
Ew. Every Christmas is memorable. But a gift from Kate Jewelers makes it unforgettable. It's a memory she'll wear forever. Save 25 to 40% off everything December 13th through the 17th at K.
A little less conversation, a little more action. All this aggravation ain't satisfaction in me. A little more mind, a little less spark. A little less fight, a little more spark. Set your mouth open to your heart. Satisfy me, baby. Don't procrastinate, don't articulate. Girl, it's getting late. You just sit and wait around. A little less conversation, a little more action.
When freedom is threatened around the world, when floodwaters rise, and wildfires rage, wherever the fight, whoever the enemy, when America needs her best, she sends a soldier. Do you have what it takes? Find out at GoArmy.com/warriors.
The race for the FedEx Cup is on. The stories, bigger. The comebacks, bolder. The connection, stronger. More than ever, what you feel is one thing, everything. PGA Tour, live under par.
It's midnight at the 2018 World's Toughest Mudder, the halfway point of the race.
Really cold out. I think my wetsuit has turned into a person.
With the temperature at 38 degrees, the danger of the cold is now very real.
Like that feeling, but constantly.
If you get caught behind the cold going into one of these races, it's over for you. So many people get hypothermia and then can never regain it. People wonder how you can survive through the night at that. If you keep your tempo going, it actually stays warm inside your wetsuit.
No amount of preparing yourself really puts it into perspective until you're crawling over these sheets of ice. Everything's all sparkly and the cars are frosted over and everything's slippery. And I mean, a few times I grabbed onto a pole and my hand got stuck.
In spite of the course conditions, the top three in the men's race remain close. with Trevor Psychos now leading by 2.5 minutes over Christopher Mendoza and 16 minutes over Jesse Bruce.
You're getting in that water's cold, and you're getting mud in your shoes. And it's that climbing, sliding on your stomach. It scrapes your stomach, it scrapes your knees. It's just an exhausting, slow slog.
I'm gonna take it slow.
Women's leader Rhea Coble has opened up a nearly 40-minute lead over second place Allison Ty, while third place Morgan Mackay trails by just over an hour to hold on in third.
I was kind of by myself in my warm wetsuit that kept me comfortable, so you just kind of put one foot in front of the other, and nighttime running to me is actually probably the best part of the race.
Athletes do their best to soldier on through the chill, but the arrival of midnight signals the opening of the stacks.
You're walking on the flat ground and you see this monster in front of you.
A lot of people are scared of the stacks. It's 40 feet tall. It was exhausting to get up, but you get to the top and you have these planks going out. You look over and there's this pool of blue water, all lit up and pretty, just asking you to jump into it.
I feel like those things always look taller from the top. So when you look at them and you're like, oh, this is not too bad, and then you climb to the top and you look down and you're like, oh, it's quite a long way to go.
The adrenaline boost that you get is unreal. It's like a supercharge. Like, I love espresso, but that's like espresso times 10. Your stomach goes up into your chest. It's quite a feeling. It's exhilarating.
As much as I hate heights, I think that having something like truly epic happen at midnight halfway through the races is kind of cool.
I love the stacks. I loved it.
Midway through the race, the data collected by the Fitbit Charge 3 shows that the below-average cold has forced both Allison Ty and Christopher Mendoza to work harder to maintain their pace, leading them to increase their heart rates closer to the peak zone. However, they have managed to stay just within the more optimal cardio zone, keeping them both near the top of the leaderboard.
Keeping my heart rate in the gut zone.
What's the read?
Oh. That's not my zone too.
As frost begins to build, the obstacles become more hazardous.
Twin Peaks got significantly harder because the rope was getting icy and the wall that you were walking up was getting icy.
By 3 a.m., the temperature is down to 35 degrees, and race organizers take the extraordinary step of closing several obstacles because of safety concerns.
It got so cold at night with the frost and everything that they even closed Everest, which is the first time it's ever happened. When I heard they closed down a couple of them on the southern route due to ice, I did the math in my head and saw that instead of the 3 to the north side of the Atlantic route, there's only 2 open on the south now. So I'm going to go there and see if I can make up some time here.
For other athletes, the 3 a.m. stretch becomes a witching hour, as Tyler Nash sees his race come to an end after 45 miles.
Trying to keep up at that pace, it's not easy. It kind of eats at you after a while when you just want to get in a rhythm and the mud just kind of takes it out. This is where I broke. Now let's go back to the drawing board and do it all over again until it just clicks.
After a promising start, Morgan Mackay experiences intestinal problems and is forced to drop out after 55 miles.
A lot of athletes just weren't able to be out there anymore. A big part of that was obviously hypothermia, but then there was a lot of people dropping out with like tummy problems, GI issues.
Unfazed by the cold, Rhea Coble has opened up a nearly 90-minute lead over Allison Ty, while Alexandra Walker struggles to keep up in third. And Trevor Psychos has now opened up a 45-minute lead over Christopher Mendoza and Jesse Bruce. With just a few hours before sunrise, Mendoza's chance to remain in contention with Psychos is slipping away.
It's probably one of my lowest moments where I was just like borderline hypothermic. Those obstacles at that point in time, like I was failing him.
Knowing he still has the Golden Carabiner awarded for completing 25 miles, Mendoza can use it to bypass one of 2 long stretches of obstacles, making up a significant amount of time.
I told my crew to give me the Golden Carabiner, and I used it that lap. And it was almost like a desperate Hail Mary attempt just to try to reset and try to figure something out.
This is no ordinary fun run. It's a Tough Mudder 5K. 3 miles, 13 obstacles, live entertainment and games with 0 judgment and 0 training required. Do something different for your weekend. Sign up for a Tough Mudder 5K.
These little cups would make great stocking stuffers. But how about right now in your mouth stuffers? Happy holidays to your mouth. Not sorry. Reese's.
People rely on you to fix the leak. Prep the food. Keep it cool. And please your customers. No matter what people count on you to do, you can rely on the Ram ProMaster and ProMaster City to help you do it better than anyone else.
Now during commercial van season, competitive commercial van owners or lessees are eligible for these incentives on the 2018 Ram ProMaster and ProMaster City.
Zucker with a reminder that the Crossroads Classic is next. Hoosier State bragging rights are on the line today in Indianapolis. In Game 1, you'll see the Purdue Boilermakers battle the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Then in Game 2, number 25, Indiana, takes on Butler. Now let's get you back to the world's toughest mudder.
Two hours before sunrise, the temperature is now 36 degrees, with wind and moisture making it feel like 30. For the athletes who remain, the world's toughest mudder course looks more like an Arctic no man's land.
There wasn't a lot of people on course. You got to figure the people out there, they're the ones who are contenders and they're into the finish. And then from there, it's just pure guts and grit to get to the end.
Now you're almost riding a roller coaster. You go down and then you go up and then you go down and then you go up. And the game is just to kind of even those out a little.
It's really freaking cold. My hand's starting to fail. I think my nutrition's on point, so what could possibly be the problem? Like, wow, the cold is making me shut down.
By now, the bitter cold has forced about 180 of the original 1,300 competitors to drop out. For those still on the course, sunrise can't come soon enough.
I was so cold, I was praying for the sun. I kept looking at the sky every 5 minutes to see if I could see any yellow coming out. There was a big bulb going to come up and illuminate the freaking light around me and warm me up.
With the race nearing its final stretch, Trevor Sykos is 40 minutes ahead of Christopher Mendoza. As Rhea Coble holds on a firm lead for the women, Allison Ty keeps her sights on second place. In another surprise, Erin Ross, a first-timer at World's Toughest, is currently in third.
I did start noticing there weren't a lot of people out there, and I started asking my pit, I was like, how am I doing? Because it seemed like there's not as many people out on the course, and I wasn't seeing a lot of the elite racers, but they didn't discourage me at all. If anything, it was a little more motivating because I was still out there and I was still able to keep going.
One of my favorite things about World's Toughest Mudder is sunrise. That's when John Copper gets on those bagpipes and he just starts playing. To hear those bagpipes as the sun comes up is the coolest thing.
I don't know how to describe it. It was just so amazing seeing all the grass actually white.
I think it really hit me once the sun came up and you can see the frost everywhere. And that's kind of when I'm like, what the heck have I been doing?
World's Toughest Mudder is down to the last 4 hours, and Trevor Psychos holds a commanding 40-minute lead over Christopher Mendoza.
I started actually feeling Twin Peaks a couple times. Every lap I'd come around into my pit, and they would just pour warm water on my hands so I could get some feeling in them. And since Twin Peaks was like the first grip obstacle, I would hopefully have enough feeling to be able to do that.
I'm cold, my hands are cold. Everyone's hands and body are cold, but just gotta keep moving. Big thing is just stick your head down and grind. Like, even if you're having a crappy day, just keep going.
Psychos is so far ahead. Christopher Mendoza needs to pick up his pace to have a chance at winning.
You got push, one more. Take it to 100. Ready to go.
I still found myself 40 minutes behind Trevor. In my mind, there's just nothing I can do about it. I honestly reserve myself, like, you're in second. You're gonna finish second, as long as you keep this pace.
Holiday hoops in the Hoosier State. First, Notre Dame takes on Purdue. Then Indiana battles Butler. The Crossroads Classic, coming up next on CBS.
Meet the next generation of studio fitness. Introducing Tough Mudder Bootcamp. Train together. See results faster than ever. Check one out or own one yourself.
This isn't a liner. Well, to be clear, it's an invisible liner from Smile Direct Club. Our liners take teeth like these and transform them into those. They discreetly take this and turn it into that. We send your liners directly to you, and in an average of 6 months, you can have a lifetime supply of confidence. Join more than 250,000 satisfied groomers who got a smile they love for only $80 a month at SmileDirectClub.com.
So you're trying to make the walk?
Yeah, I'll do it in a sec.
What? How is that delayed game? I'm gonna make that walk now.
No guac, no game.
Avocados from Mexico. Brand new day is at my feet.
This is a beer inspired by nature, made with organic grains and sourced from the finest farms. Michelob Ultra Pure Gold. A beer like no other, with a pure, refreshing taste.
Got rhythm all in my shoe. So from a shop in the blue. Well, come on, baby, come along with me. Get this little taste of soul. I say, get this little taste of soul. Right before you go too old, we all can have it. It's a big and grow. You can come and dance and go to show it. I got rhythm where it's supposed to be. If you run it up, it's a soul like.
The 2018 World's Toughest Mudder on CBS Sports is sponsored by Charge 3. Know yourself to improve yourself. Sleep Number. This is not a bed. It's proven quality sleep. And by Old Trapper Beef Jerky. What's your beef?
Only 3.5 hours remain in the 2018 World's Toughest Mudder. And despite the cold, fewer than 200 of the 1,300 runners who started the race have dropped out.
There's a point in time when you're running that you're fantasizing, and perhaps it's a way to overcome some of the discomfort.
I was done. My knees, my feet, my ankles were just in agony. I was walking down all the hills backwards because my knees couldn't take it. As much as the sunrise brings with it like some hope, your body is shutting down equally as fast. My goal is just stay consistent and not pass out.
With the sun helping thaw both athletes and obstacles, first place Trevor Psychos holds a 37-minute lead over Christopher Mendoza. Rhea Coble is now well within reach of her second consecutive women's title, and she leads Allison Ty by just over 6 miles. Checking the data on their Fitbit Charge 3s shows that Allison Tai has been able to keep her heart rate in the cardio zone with only very brief spikes into the peak area. As Christopher Mendoza continues his pursuit of Trevor Psychos, his heart rate has edged considerably more into the peak zone, indicating he'll need to dial down his exertion to avoid burning out. In the few remaining hours, athletes look to maximize their laps completed, achieving their personal goals.
It was definitely a very tough race. Everything had to come in place to be able to finish it. When you work on weaknesses for a year and then when you finally see it come together, it's a little small victory in the 24 hours of racing.
In a surprise gesture, Allison Tai's pit crew informs Coble that after 70 miles, Tai is finished and will settle for second place. Coble is now free to call it a race after 75 miles.
You don't expect your competitor to lay the cards out, and when you're struggling so hard, just knowing that you can be done, it's quite a relief. So at that point, I decided that that was going to be my last lap.
Rhea Coble crosses the finish line 21 brutal hours after starting the race to claim her second consecutive women's championship.
I feel like it's moments like these that make all of the training and all of the racing and everything worth it.
Allison Tai completes her final lap for 70 miles and a presumptive lock on second place. However, after Tai has cooled down and dismantled her pit, race organizers discover that Erin Rost, in anticipation of earning a spot on the podium, has picked up her pace and now has a shot at upsetting Tai for second place.
The information that my pit had was that Erin was 2 laps behind me and that Rhea was 2 laps in front of me. It was pretty much at that point we thought it was locked in. It turns out that Erin was only 1 lap behind me. But at that point, to get me changed and then back out there after sitting around for an hour and a half, there was no way that was going to happen.
This is what you want. You want the 75 miles.
In her very first World's Toughest, Erin Rost can now secure second place, provided she can muster the strength to complete 1 more lap for 75 miles.
My goal was to always get 75 miles. I came in and my boyfriend said, go out there and just do it. And I just was fired up. I had a quick pit and then I just went out and went for it.
Meanwhile, as they go out after their 90th mile, Trevor Psychos' lead over Christopher Mendoza has dropped to just 20 minutes.
How you feeling, dude?
Yeah, I'm trying to crash. I'm pushing as hard as I can.
After 9 o'clock, I went back out for those last 2 laps, and I started having breathing problems. Every time I started to run, I would cough, so I had to stop and to clear out my throat. And everyone's telling me, hey, Chris is closing in on you. You gotta move.
My crew would tell me, just keep pushing as hard as you can right now because, Trevor doesn't look too good right now. And there's a chance that you could catch him. And in my mind, I was so defeated that I was like, that's impossible. But I definitely just kept giving it my all.
Finishing as strong as they started, Team Lindsay's Angels easily take first place in the team relay with 80 miles. Now, having just completed his 17th lap for 85 miles, Jesse Bruce puts the hammer down, going out for 1 more lap, all but ensuring a 3rd place finish.
My theory is if I'm gonna, work myself through something and put myself in a lot of pain, I want a time, I want a result. So just trying to keep moving.
Mustering her remaining energy, Erin Rost completes her come-from-behind surprise by completing 75 miles, bumping Allison Tai into 3rd.
Came down the hill and I heard them announcing my name. It was the best feeling. This really feels like a dream come true. I'm humbled, I'm honored to be with people I look up to and to be in this position. It's surreal.
Jesse Bruce crosses the finish line with 90 miles, nailing 3rd place.
It was amazing. It was a mix of smiling and fighting back tears at the same time. Never felt that. The harder the struggle, the bigger the victory at the finish line. That race definitely changed me.
The showdown for first is in the final stretch. After 95 miles, Christopher Mendoza is 23 minutes behind Trevor Psychos, with a 1:30 deadline to reach 100 miles.
You're 20 minutes behind. Crew told me, they're like, you're 20 minutes behind him. And I was like thinking like 20 minutes is a lot to gain in one lap. That's 4 minutes per mile that you have to make up. And I don't think it's possible. But I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna push.
I left that last lap and my pit crew dispersed, and every time I saw someone, it was 15 minutes, it was 12 minutes, and it was 8 minutes. I was like, he's gaining on me fast.
One of the guys from my crew said, Chris, you're 5 minutes behind Trevor. Go get him. And that 98 miles into the race was like the first time that I was like, you can do this.
As soon as I got over Happy Indian, my picture told me to run.
I see a leader bib, and I know it's him. And so I just came up behind him.
Good job, man. Good job.
He said, I'm proud of you. Go take this one. Someone to tell you that, who's like such a good friend, someone who's you've been racing against and like pushing for 25 hours at that point. It's incredible.
Christopher Mendoza completes his quest to reach 100 miles and win his first World's Toughest Championship.
Taking in that last mile and then just to finally close with that was huge. I just like lost it. I just fell to the floor and they kind of surrounded me and it was just support and love and it was an incredible moment.
With his last ounce of energy, Trevor Psychos crosses the finish line in second and true to the Tough Mudder spirit, shares in a moment of glory with his friend and fellow competitor.
Getting that 100-mile bib is an amazing feeling because it's such a difficult bib to earn. Only 7 people have ever earned it, so to be one of those people, it's a testament.
For adaptive athletes like Noah Galloway and Jesse Stracom, achieving their own milestones is cause for celebration. And as an exhausted Mudder Nation rejoices at the conclusion of an epic World's Toughest, they're reminded that fear and obstacles are no match for the determination that defines the human spirit.
Sunday, tis the season. There's some naughty and nice in its Christmas delight. Happy holidays.
Hey, to Ollie. Good night.
New NCISLA Sunday. New CBS Sunday. Brandon Michael Hall stars in God Friended Me.
Boarding Pass Multiplier Days. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at all station casinos, fiestas, and pubs. 10 times points on slots and up to 6 times points on video poker. Friday.